Guys, welcome back to Geeks Wargaming. We have another battle report for you today. It is Chaos Space Marines versus Blood Angels. It's 2,000 points, and we have something a little bit different in this battle. We both have a super heavy, so I'm rocking a Knight. Dan has a Khitan. So yeah, we're going to have some super heavy smash up in this one. We've rolled for the mission. We are playing Relic, and we have got Dawn of War deployment, so we're hoping to get in combat pretty quick. We've both got very assault based armies. It's more a Khorne theme from Dan, so the blood from the Blood God is definitely going to theme heavily today.
So Chaos Forces are in a battalion detachment, and the first HQ choice and Warlord is going to be Skarbrand. His Warlord trait is the Legendary Fighter for +1 attack, which should go nicely with his special abilities. Second HQ choice is Khan the Betrayer and 9 Khorne Berserkers in a Rhino. Troops choices, I have 2 lots of Blood Letters, 10 per squad, and the guys with the horns are going to be my Blood Reapers. And also we have some Chaos Cultists, 10 of these, 1 with a heavy stubber, and the leader has got a shotgun. Heavy support, 2 Defilers with the Reaper autocannon and the Power Scourge each. And then finally my Lord of War is the Khitan Ravager. So yeah, that's 2,000 points of chaos.
The Blood Angels are being led into battle today by Dante himself. He is a legendary fighter for +1 attack on the charge, and he heads up a Vanguard detachment, so a very elite heavy force we have. The first elite slot is a Thunderhammer Assault Terminator squad. Next unit we have is the Sanguinary Guard, which obviously Dante is going to be flying around with. It's all completely WYSIWYG. So we have the Death Mask, we have 3 swords, we have a fist and an axe at the back there. Next elite choice we have the Ancient with the sword, and last elite choice is the Lightning Claw Terminators. 1 fast attack today is the Assault Squad. Sergeant has the Thunderhammer and Combat Shield. The rest of the guys are just stock with their chain swords and bolt pistols. 1 heavy support being the Bold Predator with the heavy bolter sponsons. Storm Raven for the flyer, and then the Lord of War is a Knight Paladin. That gives me 4 command points in total, and that is 1,999 points. So here is the Blood Angels deployment. Because Dan chose the deployment zone, I got to make the first drop. So on my left flank I have the Bowl Predator. Next to that we have the Hammonators, the Assault Squad in the top of the building, ready to jump onto the Relic. In the centre of the battlefield we have my Knight ready to rain down some fire on anything that dares to go near that Relic. And then on my right flank we have my Storm Raven. It is empty, it is just acting as a gun platform today. So everything else in my army is in reserve. So that's Dante, the Sanguinary Ancient, the Sanguinary Guard, and the Lightning Claw Terminators. Chaos deployment have deployed spread all the way across their deployment zone. So on this flank we have the Blood Letters. They are supported by a Defiler and Skarbrand. In the centre, behind the building, we have the cultists. The Rhino is packed full of berserkers with Khan. There is a squad of bloodletters next to them. The Khitan, looking across the field at my knight. And on this flank we have the other Defiler. Nothing is being held in reserve, everything is on the table. So the Chaos are going to be going first. They finished all their drops first, but I am going to attempt to seize. So let's see if we get the magic number. Not quite. The bloodletters have moved and advanced in the ruins, keeping all their toes in cover to get the cover save from this ruin. Scarbrand has advanced up his full movement, trying to put pressure on the Blood Angel lines. The Defiler has stayed stationary, doesn't want to take the -1 to hit. He's quite happy with his position at the moment, rear guarding there. The cultists have moved forward in the building, just putting pressure on the objective in the centre there. The other bloodletters, they were going to advance and then they decided they were just going to stay in the cover instead. The Rhino has jumped up through the gap and done a power slide, ready for the next turn for the berserkers to jump out with Khan and possibly pick up that relic. On the Chaos left flank, the Khitan is moving forward very ominously. He's close to the knight. I could maybe head him off. We might even have some super heavy close combat next turn. We'll have to measure that up, see if I even want to go near it, to be honest with you. And the other Defiler, again like his brother, has stayed still to pump some shots down the field, maybe looking at the Stormraven there. So the first shots rang out from the Khitan. He was focusing on the Baal Predator and he managed to do a lot of damage. Armor plates ripping off the side armor, and he managed to take 4 wounds in total off the Baal Predator. He was then supported by the Defiler, who took off a couple of extra wounds, taking it down to 4 wounds. I think it was 3 wounds he took off that, so he's down to 4 wounds in total. Everything else, the fire was pretty inconsequential. The Defiler over here shot up at the Stormraven with everything. Only managed to wound a couple of times, but I did actually manage to save. Small arms fire from the Rhino and the cultists bounced off the assault squad, which were in cover there. So everything has arrived from reserve. Dante, the Ancient and the Sanguinary Guard have all deployed within 9 inches of Scarbrand, looking to get an early charge off there. They have been supported by the damaged Baal Predator. He is going to be hitting on 5s because he moved, but he has an awful lot of shots, hopefully to weaken Scarbrand. The assault squad has jumped out of the ruins to put pressure on the Relic. The Lightning Claw Terminators have arrived from deep striking. They're exactly 9 inches away from Scarbrand, that unit, and the Rhino, and again pressurising the Relic. The Hammonators have just ambled forward out of the ruins there. The Knight has moved up to face off the Khitan. That's a 9-inch charge. I don't know if I'm going to attempt it. I may as well attempt it, but it won't be easy. And the last thing to move is the Stormraven that's just gunned its engines. He's flown 20 inches forward and he can get shots, nice melter shots on the Khitan or even the Defiler there.
The Knight is going to shoot into Scarbrand. He's just about poking his head around the Fortress of Redemption there. So the Knight has a clean shot. The Baal Predator and the Sanguinary Guard and the Ancient have all shot into him already, taking off 8 wounds. So now it's down to the knight to lay in the punishing fire. So what's going to shoot first then, Robin?
The rapid fire autocannon, which is 2d6 shots. So let's roll them.
What do you need to hit?
This is how many shots.
Oh, it's how many shots you get. Wow, okay.
So he's got 5 shots.
Not the greatest.
Not the greatest. And he is hitting on 3s.
3s to hit.
That's 3 hits. Wounding on 4s. So that's 1
Just
wound.
the 1 wound on that.
And that's
Because Scarbrand is toughness 7, not toughness 8, Robin actually gets 2 wounds from the auto cannon. So minus...
-2, so it's
Rolling
5 up.
5 up in more.
Oh, 5 up invuns. Oh, it makes them both!
Typical.
Come at me, bro!
Now the heavy stubbers are pumping in as well. So hitting on 3s. It's always my rubbish guns.
Yeah, all but 1 on the heavy stubbers have hit. So wounding on
5s.
5s to wound. There's 2 wounds, there's 1 dice on the floor.
3 wounds.
Oh, 3 wounds because there's a 6. So that's 2 misses. So 3 more wounds.
Yeah.
AP.
-1.
So 4,
AP -1, so 4 up saves.
3 wounds, yeah.
Yeah. 1 more wound.
1 more wound taken on there.
So in summary of my turn there, everything over this side of the battlefield shot into Scarbrand. The knight joined in the fire as well and managed to reduce him to 7 wounds. So he's still a massive threat. Most of my army is close combat based, so not a lot of fire here. There was only a couple of guys which were in range of the cultists, and they either missed or didn't wound. My Storm Raven pumped all of its shots into the Khitan and managed to do 5 wounds in total on that, trying to give the knight a bit more of a fighting chance if he gets into melee with it. So yeah, with that we are now on to the charge phase, so let's see how that works out. First to attempt the charge, we have a 9-inch charge from the Sanguinary Guard into Scarbrand. Oh, we get 8. We get 8. Do I re-roll that? Do I use a command point? Do you know what? I'm going to use my first command point. I do have 6, so let's go for it. We got it. We're in. We're in. Next to attempt the charge will be Dante himself. Let's see if he can join his brothers in this combat. Oh, he loves it. Look at that. And that leaves the Ancient to follow in his commander. Whoa, so close. First to strike in my fight phase will be the Sanguinary Guard themselves. So here are all the attacks from the swords, 2 attacks each. Hitting on 3s, re-rolling misses.
There's a cock dice there, Robin. Oh, we'll let you re-roll.
That was a hit, wasn't it? Okay, so that is 5 hits in total, and we are wounding on 5s. And that is absolutely jack. Next to strike will be the Power Fist, hitting on 4s, re-rolling misses. That's a kind of a cocked. So let's re-roll the miss. Still going to miss. And this will be wounded on 3s. It's a wound on the Geeks 6.
I'm assuming
5 up in 1.
Nope.
So he then takes D3 damage. That's 3 more wounds off him. Last to hit is my axe. Again, 2 attacks. Hitting on 3s. Both hit. This is still going to be wounding on 5s because the strength does not equal his toughness or better it. So that is no wounds from the axe. That could have been better. Scarbrand is going to interrupt that combat, so Dan is using his 2 command points. The Scarbrand is heavily wounded, but his attack profile actually goes up the more wounded he gets. So he gets less reliable with his hits. He's hitting on 4s, but he's actually got 10 attacks. So 4s to hit then, Dan. So
quite a few.
Quite a few misses, actually. How many we got? Is that exactly average? Yeah, five hits. And he is strength what?
14.
Wow, okay, so he's wounding on 2s. These are all going into Dante. There's a 1, and there's a cocked. That's still cocked then. There you go. So that's 4 wounds on Dante. He'll have to take these on his Iron Halo. 4 up Iron Halo saves. So that is 2 that have gone through. How many damage is that, Dan?
D6.
D6 each. I'm going to spend a command point to re-roll one of those saves. He could, if he rolled high, completely obliterate Dante with the damage that he does. So I really need to ensure that Dante stays alive. So we need a 4 up here. Ah, no. So roll for your 2d6 damage. So
5.
Dante has taken 5 damage. Dante is hanging in by the skin of his teeth. He is on 1 wound remaining, so I got a little bit lucky there. He does have 6 attacks base. He's a legendary fighter, my warlord trait, so he is +1 on the charge, and also the kind of buff debuff thing that Scarbrand does gives him an extra attack. So he has actually got 8 attacks on the charge, hitting on 2s, re-rolling misses. He needs some.
Oh yeah, 2 misses.
2 misses. There, so he is hit with all 8 attacks there. So rolling to see if Dante wounds, although he is +2 on his axe, because Scarbrand is toughness 7, still needs 5s to wound here. I need to do 4 wounds out of my 8. So let's see how we do. Oh, that's a good roll. That is a good roll. 4 wounds inflicted there. -3 AP, so these will all be on the invuln save. Dan failed to save 3 of those there, and each one of these does D3 damage. Let's see if I can get rid of those last 4 wounds. We certainly can. We certainly can. That is Scarbrand dead. That is Warlord, and that is First Blood. So that was a good round for me, worth putting all the attacks and all the shooting into him there. To summarise my assault phase then, very good. Obviously you've just seen Dante and his Sanguinary Guard take Warlord and First Blood, removing Scarbrand. Bear in mind that was my entire army pretty much shooting at him, and then my Warlord and my elite close combat unit attacking him, and I only just scraped the kill there and nearly lost my own Warlord in return. Everything else didn't really happen. So failed charges over here. The Knight failed to charge into the Khitan, and this guy is left all on his lonesome at the back of the field. So that is the end of my turn, and we are on to Chaos turn 2. The Bloodletters have moved out of the ruins, looking to exact some revenge on the Sanguinary Guard, who have just killed their Warlord. The Defiler has stayed still, wants to get full ballistic skill when shooting at my Warlord, or to finish off my Predator there, I guess. The Cultists have moved round in the ruin, looking at my assault squad. Going to rain some shots down on them. And the Berserkers have got out of the Rhino that was here. They've picked up the Relic. Well, Khan's actually picked up the Relic, and they are facing off against my Lightning Claw Terminators. We could see some brutal combat there soon. Bloodletters have moved out of the ruin just to support the Relic. The Rhino has moved back, and the Defiler again has stayed still to maximise his ballistic skills, just using these as a bit of a gun platform at the moment. The Khitan has moved round. He is now toe to toe with my Knight. The Defiler on the right flank fired into the Sanguinary Guard, managing to fell one of those. The Cultists rapid fired, and the Heavy Stubber pumped all into the assault squad, leaving just the sergeant standing amongst his dead brothers there. The berserkers all shot their pistols into my terminators, putting 1 wound on the terminator, and then Khan showed them how to do it by melting his face with his plasma pistol. The other defiler over here shot into the Storm Raven and did 1 wound to the Storm Raven, and the Khitan shot all the way across at the Bile Predator that was here and managed to take off the last 4 wounds. So that is the end of the shooting phase. We are about to go into some brutal combat. The charges have been made. The bloodletters have got into the Sanguinary Guard. They did lose 3 to Overwatch. It's a multi-charge as well, so they are dragging Dante into that combat. The Defiler has also made it in. They couldn't really fail it here, really, these Berserkers. They have got in. However, Khan was 3 inches away. He rolled snake eyes. So, yeah, classic there. But yeah, but he has used a command point. And, yeah, he rolled a 3. So, only just, it was all the glory of that plasma pistol shot has obviously made him forget how to run. The Khitan inevitably has made his charge over here, and the bloodletters at the back actually failed to join that combat. Not that they're going to need to, I don't think. We are just interrupting the fight phase. The Khitan was first to fight, and he has put the hurting on the knight. He has taken him down to 6 wounds. That is 18 wounds in 1 round of combat from the Khitan. That was absolutely brutal. So I was lucky that he'd actually he missed one of the attacks. Otherwise, that 6 wounds would have been gone as well, because he does 6 damage for every single attack, and he was wounding on 2s. Pretty brutal. Yeah, I've decided to interrupt the combat, so I've used my last 2 command points now. Dante has interrupted, and he is going to be punching the Defiler. So he will have 6 attacks now, because he hasn't charged. He has been charged, and Scarbrand has not given him the extra 1 because he's dead. Sorry, Dan. So hitting on 2s, rerolling misses. So that's all hit. What is the toughness of the Defiler? 7. Okay, so these are 5s to wound. And that is 2 wounds. And they are minus 2 AP. So take it to 5 up save, is it? Okay, so that's 2 gone through. Each failed save from the Defiler. Dante is doing D3 wounds. Let's see if I can do some significant damage here. Oh, and I can. That's probably cocked. So that is 5 damage on the Defiler. That was a rather brutal fight phase. So the Bloodletters and the Defiler punched into the Sanguinary Guard, killing all but 1. He is on full wounds, however. We already saw that the Khitan did a number on my knight, taking him down to 6 wounds remaining. But this absolute brutality here, I actually got really, really lucky with my saves. He was doing, I think it was 19 attacks per fight. Basically, the Khorne Berserkers get to fight twice in the fight phase. He was re-rolling all of his misses because of the proximity to Khan. Yeah, so basically I was taking 19 hits and then doing like 12 or 13 wounds a time at -1. So that was a lot of 3-up saves. I did actually in the first round manage to only lose 1 wound. So I was feeling quite happy about that until I realised they fight twice. So yeah, that was pretty nasty. I lost the entire Terminator squad. All my lightning claws are gone. They then, at the end of the turn, at the end of their fight phase, they consolidated 3 inches, which did actually get them within an inch of my Thunderhammer. My Thunderhammer then squashed the guy that got close. So technically he's not in combat anymore, and I'm not consolidating because I don't really want to go into combat with that, or do I? Probably not. He's just going to die. It would tie them up, would tie up the relic, but I've got Thunderhammer Terminators down here that can do some work there. Not really sure what the knight's going to do. So yeah, it's not looking good for me. It's quite an elite army, but just absolute brutality we've seen so far. So let's move on to my turn 2. One thing we forgot to mention at the end of the last turn was the morale phase. So the lone assault marine, he managed to hang in there. So did the sanguinary guard. In fact, everything did not take an additional casualty. So yeah, pretty inconsequential morale phase there. So onto my movement. Basically, I've had to consolidate into the centre of the battlefield to try and pressurise the relic. My knight has pulled out of combat with the Khitan because he's just going to get his butt kicked if he doesn't. Terminators have moved forward. Dante and the remaining sanguinary guard have jumped out of that combat across and are now close to this little melee. They won't be able to charge because they've fallen back out of combat, but they can at least contribute with some shots. Dante and the sanguinary guard are actually closest to Khan, so they will be able to shoot him with a melter pistol. That's nice. Yeah, so that is my movement done. Let's see if I can put any hurt on in the shooting phase. Not that I've got a lot to shoot. Oh, obviously I've got the Storm Raven that's flown from over here and is just holding the back of the board there, potentially in a line breaking position. Despite the Blood Angels not having many guns left on the table, or men, they did actually do quite well there. So it started well with the Storm Raven shooting into the Defiler, putting 5 wounds on him, and the assault cannons shot down into the Zerkers, killing 3 of those. The Knight, I was toying with the idea of pumping some shots into the Khitan, but it just wouldn't do enough damage to actually even give it anything on its degrading profile. So I decided to pump them into the Zerkers because they are quite brutal, and they did another 4 damage. So that remaining guy, with the amount of casualties that squad's taken, he is guaranteed to fail his morale. So I won't be charging him. Khan took a melter pistol to the face, and Dan did actually fail his save. Re-rolled it with a command point and failed it again. But unfortunately, despite rolling 2d6 and picking the highest because it's within melter range, only rolled a 3, so he is hanging in there with 2 wounds remaining, hanging on to the relic. We are now going to move on to the charge phase. Any other shots were, pinged off the cultists really. That was the shots from the sanguinary guard. So yeah, on to the charge phase. The Knight has eliminated the immediate threat in the centre of the battlefield, so he's deciding to be a bit brave and charge back into the Khitan. He will get to swing first. It's a 6-inch charge. And he's failed it.
Overwatching. 1.
No wound. Next to charge will be the Sergeant into Khan.
He's going to overwatch as well.
Yep.
Pistol. Plasma pistol.
No, all gets hot. Mortal wound. So Khan has managed to wound himself there in Overwatch, so he's taken a mortal wound. Let's see if we actually get into combat. Oh, it's a shame really. I was hoping I wouldn't get into combat and then I could force him to try and overwatch himself to death. We're now in the fight phase. Terminators have all piled in. I've purposely kept an inch away from the Berserker. Don't really want to drag him into the combat, don't want him to be able to punch me back. So we are just all fighting Khan. Everything in that combat has a Thunder Hammer. So Khan is probably going to feel some pain. So I have 11 attacks in total from that squad on the charge. They are hitting on 4s, but they're re-rolling misses because of the proximity of Dante. Wow, that's quite a lot of misses. It's not actually. No, it's actually quite a lot of hits. Yeah, it's above average in fact. Right, re-roll them all. We're looking at 2s to wound, and I am able to re-roll 1s because of the proximity of the Sanguinary Guard Ancient. So let's see what we get. Oh, I'll just re-roll that 1. Oh, there you go, 7, 4 up in Vuns.
I got it.
You got this? No, he's dead.
Oh,
to be fair,
just the once.
So that's the end of the combat, or the fight phase. The only thing left to do now is morale. The only thing that needs to take a morale check is the Berserker. He can pass. We've worked out he can pass, but he needs to roll 1. Oh, unlucky, he's dead. The Khitan has moved round the corner to face off against the Knight again. The pilot of the Knight is quaking in his boots, quite literally, I think. The Bloodletters have moved up to contest the Relic. As of these Bloodletters, and the Defiler is dragging its injured limbs along. It's only able to move, I think it's 5-6 inches now. And this other one has just remained still, just to bombard at full ballistic skill, as it's been doing the whole battle. Both armies are actually quite thin on numbers now, so this is probably going to be quite a pivotal turn. The cultists in the ruin shot down at the Sanguinary Guard. All the bullets bounced off his artificer armour though. Everything else pumped shots into the Knight, and he is down to 1 wound remaining. The Khitan took the last 4 wounds off him, used the command point to try and put an extra wound on him, which he did, but I passed my 5 up in Vun save, so he's hanging in there with 1 wound remaining. I'm not hopeful, however, because the Khitan's about to charge him, so let's see how that goes. So we are at the end of the charge phase. The Bloodletters, both squads of Bloodletters in fact, have charged into the Hammonators. This squad of Bloodletters have charged into Dante and the Sanguinary Guard. And the Khitan obviously is in on the Knight. This is about to get very, very bloody. We are midpoint of the fight phase. There's been some heavy casualties already. 1, which obviously we were expecting. The Knight has gone boom. It did not explode, however. The Khitan has just moved 3 inches towards the next combat. The Bloodletters have started to put the hurting on the Hammonators. Have lost 1, and 1 is on 1 wound. The other squad of Bloodletters have split their attacks. They've put 1 wound on the Sanguinary Guard at the moment, and I currently have 3 wounds on Dante, which I need to save all of them on 4 pluses, otherwise he is dead. Come on! Oh, if only I had a command point. If only I had a command point left. Unfortunately, my return hits were not very good, not as good as I needed. Only managed to hit twice with the Hammonators, which only actually killed the 2 Bloodletters. 2 Bloodletters were felled from this squad. That was the combined strikes of the Assault Marine and the Sanguinary Guard in there. They will need to take morale checks, however. They will only fail on a 6 up. So no, that's the first one. And then the smaller unit, they failed. So they have lost 1 guy. It is now looking very ominous for the Blood Angels. They are completely surrounded by the forces of Chaos. The Khitan has moved round to get a charge on the Hammonators and the Sanguinary Ancient. The Defiler is coming over the ruins, ready to pile into that charge. They're completely tied down by these Bloodletters. The Cultists are starting to back off. Seeing the threat in the back, they're going to take some pot shots with small arms, as is the Rhino. And the gun turret over here has stayed completely still yet again and has got his sights fixed on the Storm Raven. So with the massive melee in the middle of the battlefield, there are very few targets for the Hordes of Chaos to shoot at. So with that, the attention was drawn to my flyer. The Storm Raven, streaking through the skies, harassing the back lines, has taken some damage. He's only taken 4 damage, however. Most either missed or bounced off his armour. And that was all the shooting. We are straight on to the combat phase. The Blood Angels have been thinned out even more. It is looking like a bitter struggle for them now. The Khitan piled into the back of the Hammonators and the Ancient, wiping out the Ancient and killing one of the Hammonators. The Defiler killed the remaining Sanguinary Guard. There is just 3 Hammonators left. They did manage to dish out a couple of wounds to the Bloodletters, and they are still holding on to the Relic. So if I just survive, then I will still win this game, but it is not looking good. The Storm Raven has had to try and fly back to support his remaining brothers. He has flown to take out the Khitan, or at least put some damage on it. He actually did really well. He fired everything at the Khitan and managed to remove 8 wounds. So it is down to 10. So it is in its degraded profile. However, it will get 1 wound automatically back. So it will be out of its degraded profile, I believe. But yeah, still a lot of damage. We are just going to go straight on to the combat phase. See if my Terminators can actually do any damage, weather the storm slightly. At the end of my combat, we just have the Sergeant alone, surrounded by corpses. We didn't manage to dish out that much punishment. A couple of Bloodletters from one of the squads and 1 from the other. It's not looking good. He is holding the Relic, however. So at the moment I am winning, apparently. If it goes on to turn 6, then inevitably I'm going to lose. It's just about to go into turn 5. So all he's got to do is survive 2 rounds of combat from 2 squads of Bloodletters, a Defiler, the Rhino, the Cultist, and the Khitan. And I got this. I got this. We're in the midpoint of the Chaos turn. Everything has moved and everything is shot. The Storm Raven took an awful lot of fire there. It's down to 3 wounds remaining, and everything after shooting has charged into the Sergeant. It's not looking good for him. It hasn't been looking good for him since pretty much the start of the battle, but he's still alive. Not sure for how much longer. The Sergeant's heroic last stand has ended. He has dropped the Relic. It's fallen into the hands of the Chaos, and with that, that is the end of the battle. There we have it then, guys. That is the end of the battle, and let's just say that could have gone a little bit better for the Blood Angels. I think the force that I brought was quite elite, which really sort of showed then. When it was doing the punching, it was pretty good, but as soon as I started taking casualties, it kind of fell to pieces, really. I still haven't got a clue what's a good list in 8th edition. I didn't expect that would be. I just threw it together, really. But, you know, it was still a good fun game. I think Dan's list really was quite a good counter for mine, obviously with all the, you know, I was trying to do the damage in melee, and that's how his list works well as well. So it was just like having the relic as well as the mission meant that it was just a big cluster of fighting in the centre of the table, which I basically lost. So big time,
big
time.
Time.
The thing that surprised me the most was when the Khitan ran into the knight and pretty much killed it in one round of combat.
Yeah,
you know?
I rolled a 1, I needed a 2.
Yeah.
And it would have killed you.
Yeah. So the Khitan's a beast, really. The knight isn't actually too bad. I was quite impressed with sort of the knight. If it hadn't have taken such a butt kicking in the first sort of turn, it probably would have done quite well. And the fact that it was locked into combat with the Khitan, but it can just walk out, shoot, and then charge back in, that was really useful.
Khitan can't do that.
Yeah, Khitan can't do that, so that is quite useful. So I think knights are quite good. We kind of put this battle together to kind of think, well, you know, let's put a big unit knight type of thing against the knight to see, you know, how they did. And yeah, the Khitan is definitely the better one of those two.
Stat line's very similar. Khitan's got 2 wounds less, but regenerates a wound every single turn.
Yeah.
But the thing that makes it is his weapon.
Yeah.
Melee weapon is...
Yeah. I was kind of stuck at the start of that battle. Skarbrand is obviously on the table. I've seen what Skarbrand can do. He is horrible. He is really quite brutal in assault, and also he kind of does this debuff to everything, so it means you can't fall back. With the relic, I thought, you know, could potentially get pulled into a meat grinder, because that didn't happen anyway. Yeah, I could get pulled into a meat grinder, which I wouldn't be able to fall back from. So my focus was to eliminate him first of all, and try and sort of do as much damage to the Khitan as I could, just sort of keep chipping away at them. Managed to obviously, as you saw, get rid of Skarbrand quite early on, but he's still a beast, so he's still put a lot of hurt on me.
Yeah, although you took him out quick, he didn't go down soft. I think dealing those 5 wounds to Dante was quite key later on in the game.
Yeah, because I just needed to fail one save with Dante when he was in that cluster, and he died.
I think overall what probably lost it for the Blood Angels was the amount of dice I got to roll, the amount of attacks I got to make. The Blood Letters. The Blood Letters they were good in 7th. In 8th they are really strong on a charge, as they were. Just basically marine killers. Then Khorne Berserkers. Khorne didn't really do much, but the Berserkers...
Yeah, the Berserkers now, they're crazy good. They do so many attacks when they charge, and then they get to fight again. So they basically wiped out my horde killing assault unit, my lightning claws Terminators, before I even got a chance to hit back. So that's what, about 250 points gone, just like deleted, before I had a chance to do absolutely anything. And then because they did that, I had to refocus a lot of my attention just to get rid of them, because I saw how powerful that was. So I had obviously Skarbrand to deal with, a Khitan, and then the Berserkers to deal with. So it was just too many sort of hard hitting units to deal with in that game. So yeah, I think Dan's list was a lot better than mine, really. But you know, still a fairly sort of competitive game, fun game to have. So I enjoyed that. So thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed that video as much as we enjoyed making it for you. Remember to like the video if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't already subscribed, and click the notification button if you want to make sure that you don't miss any of our content, and we'll see you in the next one.